This is a story of Andrea Yates. Warning, viewer discretion is advised. Andrea Yates was born on July 2nd, 1964, and on June 20th, 2001, she would unalive her 5 children by drowning. Andrea was born in Houston, Texas. She was the youngest of 5 children, and she was raised in a Catholic household. She graduated from Milby High School in Houston, Texas in 1982. Yates completed a 2-year pre-nursing program at the University of Houston and graduated from the University of Texas School of Nursing. From 1986 until 1994, she worked as a registered nurse at the University of Texas, MD, Anderson Cancer Center. In the summer of 1989, she met Russell, aka Rusty Yates, at the Sunscape Apartments in Houston, Texas. They soon moved in together and were married on April 17, 1993. They announced that they would seek to have as many babies as nature allowed. They would later buy a 4-bedroom house in the town of Friendwood. In February 1994, the couple's first child, a son named Noah, was born. Shortly after, Rusty accepted a job offer and moved to the small trailer in Seminole, Florida. By the birth of their 3rd son, Paul, they settled back in Houston and purchased a GMC motor home. Following the birth of their 4th son, Luke, Andrea became depressed. Media alleged that her condition was influenced by extremist sermons of Michael Peter Warniecki, the preacher who sold them their bus. Her family was concerned by the way that she was so captivated by the minister's words. On June 16, 1999, Rusty found Andrea shaking and chewing on her fingers. The next day, she attempted to take her life by overdosing on pills. She was admitted to the hospital and prescribed antidepressants. Soon after her release, she begged her husband to let her die as she held a knife up to her neck. Once again, she was hospitalized and was given a mixture of medications, including Haldol, an antipsychotic drug. Her condition improved immediately and she was prescribed it on her release. After that, Rusty moved the family into a small house for the sake of her health. Everything seemed to be going fine for the moment. In July 1999, Andrea succumbed to a nervous breakdown which culminated 2 attempts against her life and 2 psychiatric hospitalizations that summer. She was diagnosed with postpartum psychosis. Her first psychiatrist, Dr. Eileen Starbranch, testified that she urged the couple not to have any more children, that it would guarantee a future psychotic depression. Yet they would conceive their 5th and final child approximately 7 weeks after her discharge. She stopped taking Haldol in March 2000 and gave birth to a daughter, Mary, on November 30th, 2000. She seemed to be coping well to the death of her father in March 12, 2001. She then stopped taking medications, mutilated herself, and read the Bible feverishly. She also stopped feeding her youngest child, Mary. Andrea became so incapacitated that she required immediate hospitalization. On April 1st, 2001, she came under the care of Dr. Mohammed Saeed. On May 3rd, 2001, she degenerated back into a near catatonic state and drew a bath in the middle of the day. She would later confess to police that she had planned to drown the children that day, but she had decided against doing it then. She was hospitalized the next day and scheduled a doctor's visit. Her psychiatrist determined that she was probably suicidal and had filled the tub to drown herself. Andrea continued under Dr. Saeed's care until June 20, 2001, when Rusty left for work, leaving her alone to watch the children against Dr. Saeed's instructions to supervise her around the clock. Rusty's mother, Andrea Yates, had been scheduled to arrive an hour later to take over for her. In the space of that 1 hour, she drowned all 5 children. Andrea filled the bathtub and, beginning with Paul, she systematically drowned the 3 youngest boys, then placed them on their beds and covered them. Mary was left floating in the bathtub. The last child alive was the firstborn, 7-year-old Noah. He asked his mother what was wrong with Mary, then turned away and ran. Andrea caught up with him as he screamed. She dragged him and forced him into the tub next to Mary's floating body. He fought desperately, coming up for air twice, but Andrea held him down until he was unalived. Leaving Noah in the tub, she brought Mary to bed and laid her in the arms of her brothers. Afterwards, she would call police and then called Rusty, saying only "it's time" repeatedly. Andrea would be arrested that same day. She would later confess to drowning her 5 children. She told Dr. Michael Wellner that she waited for Rusty to leave for work that morning before filling the bathtub because she knew he would have prevented her from harming the children. After the killings, police found the family dog locked up. Rusty advised Wellner that he had normally been allowed to run free, and was so when he left the house that morning, leading the psychiatrist to conclude that she locked it up in the cage to prevent it from interfering with her killing the children one by one. Andrea would also confess confessed that she explained her actions by saying that she wasn't a good mother. In March 2002, a jury rejected the insanity defense and found her guilty. Although the prosecution had sought the death penalty, the jury refused that option. The jury found Andrea guilty of capital murder, but rather than recommending the death penalty, they voted for life in prison in the Texas Department of Criminal Justice with the eligibility of parole in 40 years. On January 6, 2005, a Texas Court of Appeals reversed the conviction because California psychiatrist and prosecution witness Dr. Park Dietz admitted that he had given material falsely testimony during the trial. On January 9, 2006, Andrea again entered pleas of not guilty by reasons of insanity. On February 1, 2006, she was granted release on bail on the conditions that she was admitted to a mental health treatment facility. On July 26, 2006, after 3 days of deliberation, Yates was found not guilty by reasons of insanity as defined by the state of Texas. In January 2007, Yates moved into a low-security state mental hospital in Kerrville, Texas. Although psychiatrists for both state of Texas prosecution and the Yates defense lawyers agreed that she was severely mentally ill with one of the several psychotic diseases at the time that she killed her children, the state of Texas asserted that she, by legal definition, was aware enough to judge her actions as right or wrong despite her mental defect. Prosecution further implied spousal revenge as a motive for the killings, despite the conclusions of the defense experts that there was no evidence to support such a motive. Although the original jury believed that she was legally aware of her actions, they disagreed that her motive was spousal revenge. The jury in 2006 disagreed with the prosecution's assertion, and her earlier conviction from 2002 was overturned. Andrea was bulimic during her teenage years, and she also suffered from depression, and at the age of 17, she spoke to friends about suicide. While in prison, Andrea stated that she had considered killing the children for 2 years, and adding that they thought that she was not a good mother and claimed that her sons were developing improperly. She told her jail psychiatrist, "It was a 7 deadly sin. My children weren't righteous. They were stumbling because I was evil. The way I was raising them, they can never be saved. They were doomed to perish in the fires of hell." She also told her jail psychiatrist that Satan influenced her children and made them more disobedient. Alrighty guys, so that was the story of Andrea Yates and the life of these poor innocent children that were gone way too soon. I never have words for situations like this. Let me know in the comments down below what you guys think of this case. There's obviously no amount of justice that can be served when lives are lost, especially when they're babies. Alrighty guys, do stay tuned. I do have the short 911 call that she made and also a short clip of the interview that they had her do a couple days after the arrest. I just want to kind of show you the state of mind that she was in.
Against you in court. Do you understand that?
Yes.
You have a right to have a lawyer present to advise you prior to and during any questioning. Do you understand that?
Yes.
If you are unable to employ a lawyer, you have a right to have a lawyer appointed to advise you prior to and during any questioning. Do you understand that?
Yes.
And you have a right to terminate this interview at any time. Do you understand that?
Yes.
Okay. You've been treated for depression, is that right?
Yes.
And who's your current doctor?
Dr. Said.
And the last time you saw him?
Two days ago.